Yeah, let's talk about RH. Let's talk about Richard Hart now. He's been on Twitter here over the last few weeks. I guess the first kind of basic thing to mention is everybody up to the bankless boys that are on our thumbnail tonight, as well as the altcoin daily boys. They're tweeting about him and, hey, what do you think about this Richard Hart branding change and stuff like that? So I'll you're the resident hexpert here, Ewok. So I would let you talk about that. Like, how conscious is all of this? How much of it is literally just a quote unquote branding change? And what do you think has kind of been part of the evolution of Richard to come from we really, if you knew what was going on, knew wasn't really him with all the behavior in 2022 and stuff, to now? What do you think is happening? Why now? Why the change of pace here?
Well, I think PulseChain has a lot to do with it. He's, he got to 300,000 followers on Twitter, I think was reason number one. So he did hit his 300,000. He never enjoyed it. He did not enjoy going out blowing money. He's kind of a cheap person. He's self-admitted. I don't like spending money, especially on stuff like that. Now he is usually pretty smart about it and buys things that do appreciate in value. He doesn't just go blow money on things that aren't valuable. But I think he's preparing for the PulseChain launch. He did deactivated his Instagram account, which was all the flexing of all the stuff, the Louis Vuitton and the Gucci and the Prada and all of that stuff. That's basically what the Instagram account was for.
And let's face it, I mean, most Instagram accounts, I mean, that's kind of what that app is.
It's all just attention grabbing stuff. And that was what he was trying to do. He was just trying to get his name out there. Nothing more than that. I see, Roland says Richard Hart is under fire. I don't think so. I think he knows it's time to pivot, because he did say, when it's time to stop doing that, I'll stop doing that. And now's the time. He's preparing for PulseChain to launch and back to serious work. It's just, I don't see any point in it. The community started to kind of get fed up with it as well. And I think he took that to heart, literally. So, again, I don't think he's under fire. I think he realizes that it's just time to pivot, time to get serious about PulseChain and get on with it. So I think it served its purpose.
Yeah. And, we've talked about this in recent weeks too, but I think, maybe he underrated before, didn't realize just how important it was to a lot of the Hex community just to get the updates about PulseChain. I mean, like, even if it's stuff that you don't understand at all, which for most people it's not, let's face it. But, just to see the specific updates from devs and then be able to put, handicap it in some way to put some kind of a time on it, at least to like V3 testnet and, the actual thing launching. It's been really valuable, and I think it has shown, I guess it's been a pivot for him in that way too, because he would just figure that there was no news to really talk about, so he wouldn't talk about it. And I wonder how much of it was really, the ETH merge last year in September, and that kind of throwing not a wrench into things, but changing some things up over the last 6 months. So yeah, maybe they really had challenges here up until the new year. That might be part of it too. That said, I also think we've always thought that there's going to be some market timing for, when PulseChain does launch, because you obviously want the wind in your sails too, as far as the greater crypto market.
Yep, I agree. And I do think they ran into challenges. He was kind of quiet about it, but he would kind of throw it in there a little bit with how many bugs they were, running into with the whole BSC chain, and how many of them that they actually disclosed to those guys themselves so that they could fix them. So yeah, I think the ETH merge was good timing. I think it made their job probably that much easier to pivot. It just made sense to do it. So and now you see the final updates here of where we're sinking and
Hmm.
getting very close. Crypto ran was going to have him or tried to have him on his show yesterday or today. I forget what day it was.
I didn't realize
Um,
that.
and he said he couldn't, but he would soon. And that he told him the PulseChain V3 launch was imminent. So,
Huh.
I think that's why he couldn't do it. They're trying to get it squared away. Um, you know, all the T's crossed and I's dotted,
Lowercase
and
j's. Yeah.
yeah, all those too. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Good.
I just think that it's gonna it's time to get serious. That's basically what it is. And um with I just kind of wanted to touch on this too. The timing may be suspicious. We had the SEC already investigating some of the influencers, the personalities of Hex, and they've found nothing. So, and I don't know, right, when SEC is looking at DeFi projects and calling everything but Bitcoin a security. Um, but you still have Gary Gensler saying, "Not your keys, not your crypto." So they're kind of talking in
Yeah.
circles too. There's a whole lot of just um, stuff they throw at a wall and see what sticks. But if you think you got a tap on the shoulder, then continue to think that. But really done nothing wrong. So
I think he
I'm not
may
concerned.
have. No,
He
I
he
don't. I don't.
may have. He may
Yeah.
have. And it could be one of the reasons why his Twitter was changed to "I don't read messages, I don't
Yeah.
answer emails," or who knows what they sent him. We do know that there was the subpoena was sent to CZ about the whole coin market cap thing via Twitter. Maybe they tried to send him something or whatever, because he is pretty good with his OPSEC. I doubt they have his address. So,
Yeah.
who knows? But either way, I'm not concerned about it. It's a decentralized product that he doesn't really have anything to do with anymore other than marketing it. So, not worried about Hex. If they're looking into Pulse Chain and the way the sacrifices were run, then maybe that's another reason to get them launched too, to make people realize that your money wasn't stolen. People, it's still sitting in those addresses. So we'll see.
And getting a tap on the shoulder or whatever from the SEC, or just kind of like what some of the Hex folks apparently got in the mail. That doesn't necessarily mean very much.
No,
And that yeah, and not just for Hex, but for anything that they put a question into. They want to get their hands on everything, and they want to find out whatever they can about everything. And the definition of a security, and this is something I was going to ask you about Ewok too, because Richard was tweeting all about this one of the last few days too. Um, is purposely a broad definition by the SEC, so they can basically call whatever they want a security. Like, they
sure.
purposely leave themselves all kind of wiggle room. They're not dumb,
Oh yeah,
to be able to do that. So I think that's both good and bad, because it's kind of like, just because you get a question or somebody might be looking into you, that doesn't mean anything is going to come out of it necessarily.
no,
Like, it's just them being able to put their fingers on everything.
sure. Yeah, and they make their wording so just I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but they make it so vague that they can
Ambiguous.
ambiguous, yes,
Yeah.
so that they can spin it how they want to, or when it's time to change the language, all they have to do is change one word, and
Hmm.
people don't even really realize it. So, y- you know, it's going to be a long, hard fight, I think, with these people. They really don't know what they're doing. They don't know much about crypto anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so educating them and getting some senators and you know people to represent us is probably going to be the best way to go about fighting this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I am with you there. I wanted to say this too, back to the Richard and like what he's how he's rebranded himself and how like his Twitter bio reads and stuff like that. I mentioned it earlier. I do find Reddit to be a valuable source, the Reddit cryptocurrency subreddit, to be valuable as basically a system to fade. Just everything that's going on in there, do the opposite. Basically, you'll probably be okay. It's kind of like the inverse Kramer. But if you would go in there right now, you'll basically see that everything is a bloodbath and the recession looms and get out while you can and all these things. And there lately has been a Richard Hart or Hex related post almost daily in there that gets to the top of the subreddit, which is kind of significant because it's a big subreddit. But they are saying like, oh yeah, did you see he scrubbed everything about Hex from his bio and he, deleted this right before he runs off with everybody's money. And it's like, number one, he didn't. I mean, you were just looking at his bio prior to us going on the air and it's there, but he didn't even really have tons of Hex-centric stuff in there to begin with. He's also, like we've just said, been tweeting constantly about the progress of his brand new L1 that people are waiting with bated breath for. So I just don't, I guess my point with that is Reddit, although it may be good for some things, I actually think it is good for this. Go to the cryptocurrency subreddit, the full word cryptocurrency, and use it as a resource to fade what they do, because they are all basically, clutching their pearls. That's just, it's a good place to go to get a dose of like where the normies are kind of looking in crypto, I think. So,
yeah, like I said, I stay away from it. I think it's toxic. It is. I don't need, I mean, yeah, I don't need to go see what other people are saying. I see it in Twitter enough where, it just gives me more motivation to block and mute people. So that's fun.
Yeah. It was fun the other day too. I don't know what it was, and I forget who from Hex on Twitter from the community said this, but there were multiple people on, I think, Monday. I don't even know what accounts they were, just whoever, but just with like the whole, well, it's a Ponzi, but it's a kind of Ponzi where, and it's just like, dude, this is so tired at this point.
It was Simon Dixon.
He was one of them. The other one was the one I read more of. I forget who it was, but it was just like, come on, dude. Like, he literally contradicted himself all within the same thread. I mean, most of these people are 100%. I'll say it myself. I know now as a quote unquote content creator, even though it's a small YouTube channel, anytime you put something out about Hex, you will at least 3x the attention you get from anything else you ever cover.
Sure.
That is good for Hex. I don't know why people do not understand that, but it's like, that's the network effect, man. Like, it isn't taking place anywhere else in crypto right now. Yeah. And, Bob Lucas has been guilty of it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, he will tweet about Hex every now and then. So
why? They all do. They all do. You've got these guys, especially Altcoin Daily. They talk about it all the time. And that they don't like it, but they get the responses and the retweets and the comments, and it's just it's all for the clicks. It's all clickbait. So
yeah,